Welcome to Histology. The Norse gods were warriors, wanderers, rulers, and tricksters. They didn't sit around on golden thrones. They fought, feasted, and bled, much like mortal folk. Their world was filled with endless battles, uneasy pacts, and a looming end. Let's meet them, shall we? And who better to start with than Odin, ruler of the Æsir, god of wisdom, war, poetry, and magic. Odin was full of contradictions. A brutal fighter and a tireless seeker of knowledge, a king and a traveler, a giver and a taker. His thirst for wisdom was boundless. He traded an eye at Mimir's well for insight, and hung himself on Yggdrasil for 9 nights to learn the runes. As a war god, he doesn't fight for honor, he fights to claim the dead. He selects which warriors fall in battle and leads them to Valhalla, where they train for Ragnarok. But he is also a master of deception, roaming the worlds in disguise, whispering secrets, and steering fate in subtle ways. Even the Allfather cannot outrun destiny. When Ragnarok begins, Odin guides the gods into their last stand, only to be devoured by Fenrir, the great wolf he once tried to bind. Next is Thor, god of thunder and the strongest champion of the Æsir. He guards both gods and humans, and the storm is his domain. His hammer Mjolnir crushes mountains, and his goat-drawn chariot rumbles through the sky like thunder. Unlike Odin, who relies on cunning, Thor's method is direct. When in doubt, he uses his hammer. Yet he is no mere brute. Thor stands for loyalty, protection, and the courage to hold back monsters threatening the world. When Ragnarok comes, he will clash with Jormungandr, the world serpent. He will kill it, but its venom will take his life in return. He will walk 9 steps and then fall, triumphant and doomed at once. Tyr, the god of war, justice, and sworn promises, is known for his unflinching sense of duty and self-sacrifice. While Odin schemes and Thor relies on sheer might, Tyr upholds honor above all else. He ensures fairness in combat and respects the sacred ties that bind the gods. His defining act is the chaining of Fenrir. The wolf would only allow himself to be bound if one of the gods placed a hand in his jaws as a pledge of good faith. Knowing the risk, Tyr stepped forward. Once Fenrir realized he was trapped, he bit off Tyr's hand, but the gods had won. Though brave, Tyr's role fades in later tales, overshadowed by Odin and Thor. At Ragnarok, he battles Garm, the Hound of Hell, and they kill each other, another loss in the final war. Baldur, the god of beauty, light, and goodness, is the shining soul of Asgard. Loved by all, he seems invincible, yet he is haunted by visions of his own death. His mother, Frigg, made everything vow never to hurt him, except for mistletoe, which she thought too small to matter. Loki seized this opening. He shaped a mistletoe spear and tricked Baldur's blind brother Uther into throwing it. The spear struck home, and Asgard's brightest hope was gone. Hermithor later rode to Hel's realm to beg for Baldur's return. Hel agreed, but only if every creature shed tears. All wept except for one giantess, likely Loki in disguise. And so Baldur stayed below until Ragnarok, when he will emerge to rule a renewed world. Uthor, the blind god, unknowingly causes Asgard's darkest sorrow. He is strong but overshadowed by his brother's glow. The gods once playfully threw things at Baldur, convinced he could not be harmed, but Uthor was tricked into launching the fatal mistletoe. Though he was misled, he bore the blame. Odin's son Vali was born for one reason: to avenge Baldur. In a single day, Vali reached manhood and killed Uther without hesitation. Uther's story does not end there, for he is fated to return once the old world falls and a new dawn comes. Vitar is the silent god of vengeance, a figure of few words but mighty deeds. He prepares for Ragnarok, aware Odin will die, quietly gathering his strength for that moment. When Fenrir rips Odin apart, Vitar moves without pause. Wearing a special shoe made from every scrap of leather cast aside by mortals, he grips the wolf's jaw and forces it open before plunging in his blade. Unlike many gods, Vitar survives the doom of the world, living on to help rebuild what remains. Vali, whom we mentioned briefly, is the god of retribution, another son of Odin, born for a single mission: to exact punishment for Baldur's death. His mother is Rindr, a giantess, making Vali a child of 2 worlds. He grew up in a single day, then hunted Uther and slew him in cold vengeance. He also played a role in Loki's punishment. Transformed into a wolf, he tore apart Loki's son, Nafi, whose entrails were then used to bind Loki in chains. Bragi, the god of poetry and eloquence, speaks with a voice as smooth as the mead of inspiration. He is a master of verse, greeting warriors in Valhalla and honoring their deeds with song. His wit is keen, and his wisdom forms the roots of skaldic lore. Married to Idun, the keeper of the apples of youth, Bragi's part in myths is quieter than the tales of battles and tricks, yet he is vital. Through poetry, he preserves memories of heroes and gods so their legacies never fade. Heimdallr, the ever-watchful guard, stands by the Bifrost, the burning bridge that links the realms. His sight spans great distances, and his hearing is so sharp he can detect the softest sounds. He keeps the horn Gjallarhorn ready to signal Ragnarok. Born of 9 mothers, Heimdallr has keen wisdom, strong arms, and a solemn sense of duty. He is Loki's sworn foe, their rivalry running deep. In the end, they will face each other in single combat. He will kill Loki, but he too will fall, ending his watch forever. Hermodr, the quick messenger of the gods, is chiefly remembered for his bold ride to Hel, hoping to save Baldur. When sorrow gripped Asgard, he volunteered to make the harrowing journey. Riding Sleipnir, Odin's 8-legged steed, he traveled 9 nights through cold and shadows until he reached the gold bridge of Gjallabru, kept by the maiden Morgoth. After stating his cause, she let him pass. Hermodr went on to Hel's gates. Although he could not free Baldur, the fallen god gave him Draupnir, a golden ring burned with him on his pyre, to return to Odin. Baldur's wife Nanna, who died of heartbreak, sent gifts for Frigg and Fula. Hermodr left Hel's halls, his mission unsuccessful, but his bravery etched into legend. Hörnir is an enigmatic figure who appears in crucial moments yet remains in the shadows. Sometimes he travels with Odin, even during the world's shaping. Along with Odin and Luthor, he helped mold the first humans, Ask and Embla, bestowing them with thought and reason. During the Æsir Vanir War, Hörnir was sent to the Vanir as part of a hostage swap. At first they praised him as wise, but if Mimir was not there to guide him, he offered only unclear words. The Vanir grew frustrated, worsening tensions between the two clans. Luthor is also tied to the creation of humanity. Together with Odin and Hörnir, he shaped the first people. Odin gave them breath, Hörnir offered mind, and Luthor provided warmth and form, giving them blood and body. His deeper nature is unclear. Some say he was related to the Vanir, or was an old god whose memory faded over time. After this moment of creation, Luthor slips from the stories, leaving scholars to wonder about his place among the divine. Marni is the god of the moon, forever guiding it through the night sky. Alongside his sister Sol, goddess of the sun, he was set in the heavens to lead these glowing orbs. He drives the moon's path in a chariot, always pursued by Hati, the ravenous wolf. He is not alone on his journey. 2 children, Bil and Hayuki, travel with him, perhaps explaining the moon's markings as silhouettes of children carrying water. At Ragnarok, Hati finally catches him, and Marni is devoured, plunging the world into darkness before the last battle begins. Sol, also called Suna, is the sun goddess, blazing her way across the heavens each day. The gods placed her there to brighten the realms, though her ride is never calm. She is hunted by the wolf Skoll, who hungers to swallow her. Like Marni, she is fated to fall when Ragnarok arrives. Skoll will at last seize her, plunging all into night. Yet her light does not vanish forever. Her daughter is foretold to rise in her stead, ensuring a new sun shines in the reborn world. Ullr is the god of skiing, hunting, and dueling, an expert in survival and battle on snow. He is unmatched with bow and skis, gliding swiftly over ice and rough terrain, protecting hunters and warriors alike. Though he does not hold the same fame as Odin or Thor, he is known to be steadfast and potent. Some sources hint he might have once been more prominent, possibly ruling in Odin's absence. Despite fewer stories about him, Ullr stayed in the memory of Norse fighters and those who endured the harsh winter. Forseti, son of Baldur, presides over justice, fairness, and peace. Unlike the warlike gods, he settles disagreements with calm reasoning, not force. His gleaming hall, Glitnir, is a place where the bitterest conflicts find balance. Though few tales highlight his deeds, Forseti's bond with law made him a key figure for those who valued honest agreements. Mimir is the guardian of wisdom and knowledge, famed for his vast insight. During the Æsir Vanir War, he was handed over to the Vanir but paid a terrible price. Seeing him as less valuable alone, they beheaded him. Yet his wisdom endured. Odin used magic to preserve Mimir's severed head, consulting it for guidance in troubled times. It was at Mimir's well, beneath Yggdrasil, that Odin gave up an eye for peerless understanding. Buri is the first of the Æsir, drawn forth from icy blocks by the primeval cow, Othumla, in the yawning gap of Ginnungagap. Over time, Buri emerged strong and fully formed. Little else is told of him, but he fathered Bor, who in turn fathered Odin, Vili, and Ve. Though Buri's own actions are rarely told, he marks the start of the godly line ruling Asgard. Bor, son of Buri, is the father of Odin, Vili, and Ve. He is seldom mentioned in surviving lore, yet he is vital as a link in the Æsir line. He took Bestla, a giantess, for a wife, and they bore the three brothers who would shape the cosmos. Bor himself does not feature in many tales, but his marriage to Bestla forever tied the Æsir to the giants. Ve and Vili are Odin's brothers, crucial players in forming the world. Together they crafted the cosmos from Ymir's body. While Odin gained leadership and wisdom, Ve and Vili contributed other key gifts. Ve is often linked to spirit and sanctity, while Vili granted intelligence and awareness. Together they formed the seas, skies, and land. Yet their roles faded in later tales, overshadowed by Odin's exploits. Njorda is the god of the sea, winds, and riches. He is called upon by sailors as he rules the waves that bring both food and peril. Beyond the ocean, he governs winds that powered Norse ships. He is also linked to prosperity, symbolizing the treasures gathered from the seas. Njorda is father to Freyr and Freya, with the giantess Skadi as their mother. Though he sides with the Æsir, Njorda originally hails from the Vanir, making him a bridge between the two divine groups. Freya is one of the most famous Norse goddesses, presiding over love, fertility, magic, and war. She is linked to beauty and longing, often invoked in matters of the heart and childbirth. Yet she also bears a fearsome aspect. She rules over Folkvanger, where half of the battle dead go, while Odin takes the other half to Valhalla. Freya rides a chariot drawn by big cats, showing her grace and might. She is also known for her jewel, Brisingamen, crafted by dwarves, a symbol of her allure. In many ways, she stands at the crossroads of love, magic, and battle. Freyr, god of fertility, growth, and harmony, is honored for bringing bounty to the land. He is Freya's brother, sharing some of her grace but leaning more toward peace and the blessings of nature. He fosters the harvests for humans and livestock, ensuring plenty. Freyr is often shown with his glowing boar, Gullingbursti, who can race across land or sea faster than any horse. He also owns the ship Skidbladnir, which always catches a fair wind and can fold into a pocket. His most renowned item is a magical sword that can fight by itself, a gift from dwarves. Though he is a peaceful god, this blade will be used in the final clash at Ragnarok. Gullveig is a puzzling figure, often linked with the Vanir and the art of magic. In the poems, she is sometimes called a source of greed, tied to transformation and spells. Her repeated burning and rebirth triggered the war between the Æsir and Vanir. They tried to destroy her 3 times, but she kept coming back, perhaps showing her mastery of sorcery, called Satyr. Her part in starting that war is her main role in myth, leaving much about her uncertain. Frigg is the queen of the Æsir, goddess of foresight, marriage, and motherhood. As Odin's wife, she is wise, kind, and deeply devoted to her family and her people. She can see the future, though she rarely shares what she knows. That insight makes her protective, especially of her son Baldur. Frigg is also the goddess of marriage and home life. Her hall, Fensalir, is peaceful, and she often works behind the scenes to keep harmony among gods and mortals. Idun is the goddess of youth, keeper of the apples that grant eternal vigor to the gods. These apples keep the Æsir from aging or weakening. She is married to Bragi, the god of poetry, and her role is vital. Without her apples, the gods would grow old. In one tale, the giant Thiazi abducts Idun, nearly costing the Æsir their youth until Loki rescues her. Sif is the goddess of harvest and fertility, wife to Thor. She is tied to the rich earth that feeds all life. Her golden hair shines like ripe fields of wheat. In one story, Loki cuts off Sif's hair as a prank, making Thor rage. To atone, dwarves craft her new locks of gold, which grow like real hair, symbolizing renewed fields and bounty. Nanna is the goddess of peace and happiness, remembered for her deep love of Baldur. She is kind, lovely, and gentle, a softer presence among the often battle-hardened gods. When Baldur dies, her grief is so strong that she too passes away, possibly from a broken heart. She stands as a symbol of how loss can shake even the brightest among the gods. Gefun is the goddess of fertility and plowing, famed for making the land fruitful. She is a powerful, independent force, able to turn barren fields into farmland. In a famous story, she tricks a Swedish king into giving her land. With help from her 4 sons, turned into oxen, she carves out what becomes the island of Zealand in Denmark, showing her skill and wit. Fula is a lesser-known goddess, serving as Frigg's loyal companion. She is entrusted with delicate tasks and guards secrets with care. Though quiet, she sometimes connects to fertility and abundance. She is often pictured holding a small box that may contain precious items or hidden knowledge. Helene is the goddess of shelter and comfort, a reassuring figure close to Frigg. She often appears in times of trouble, offering support and calm. She stands as a symbol of protection among the deities. Laufun is the goddess of forbidden love. She intervenes when 2 people are kept apart by custom or law, helping them find a way to be together. Her name ties to permission, fitting her role in granting approval for unions the world forbids. Though not the most famous goddess, she represents devotion that fights against all odds. Var watches over oaths and deals, ensuring that people keep their word. She is connected to truth, loyalty, and the price of breaking vows. Her name comes from an old word for pledge, underlining her role as keeper of honest promises. Some say Var also guards the laws of nature, keeping the bonds between gods and mortals unbroken. Var is also described as a goddess of wisdom and awareness. She looks deeper than appearances and understands hidden truths. Though not widely known, she embodies watchful insight. Some say she can find secrets locked away, connecting her to knowledge and clarity that few can match. Saga is a goddess of wisdom, possibly linked with storytelling and the recall of ancient lore. She lives in Sokvarberger, where she and Odin might share drink and tales. Some think she is another face of Frigg, since both are wise and see what lies ahead. Her exact deeds are vague, but she likely preserves old stories. Sjofn is a goddess of love, stirring passion and tender feelings among gods and mortals. Her power focuses on emotional bonds and bringing hearts together. Snotra is a little-known goddess of sense and calm judgment. Her name comes from an old term meaning wise, showing her link to prudence. She is briefly listed among the Æsir, but little else is told. Air is the goddess of healing. Skilled in curing wounds, she tends to both gods and mortals. She is another of the Æsir and is like a celestial doctor who mends bodies and souls. Ran is the goddess of the sea's depths, wife to the sea giant Ægir. While Ægir can be hospitable, Ran is more ominous. She drags those who drown into her underwater realm with her great net. She and Ægir have 9 daughters, each linked to ocean waves. Though a fearsome force, she is also respected by seafarers who hope to avoid her grasp. Skadi is the goddess of winter, skiing, and hunting, a fierce and independent mountain dweller. She is a giant by birth and joined the Æsir for vengeance after they killed her father, Thiazi. Instead of war, she demanded recompense, including a husband chosen by looking at only his feet. She thought she was picking Baldur, but ended up with Njorda, who loved the sea. They tried to live together, but his longing for the coast clashed with her need for icy peaks. They soon parted, and she returned to her snowy mountains. Nar is a messenger goddess who serves Frigg. Swift and loyal, she carries out her commands across all realms. She rides Horfognir, a magical steed that travels through air or water. This gift of movement makes her a symbol of quick, reliable communication. Loki, the notorious trickster, is a shape-changer, deceiver, and at times an unlikely helper to the gods. He shifts between ally and foe, driven by mischief, personal gain, or even a twisted sense of necessity. He fathered dreadful beings, Fenrir the giant wolf, Jormungandr the world serpent, and Hel who rules the dead. He also, in mare form, bore Sleipnir, Odin's 8-legged horse. Loki's pranks can be harmless, like shearing Sif's hair, or disastrous, like causing Baldur's death. Though bound for his crimes, his story is not over. When Ragnarok dawns, he breaks free and sides with the forces of chaos. He and Heimdallr are fated to destroy each other in that final fight. Angerboda, Loki's giantess wife, dwells in Jotunheim. Her name means bringer of sorrow. She is the mother of Fenrir, Jormungandr, and Hel, 3 children who help fulfill the prophecy of the gods' downfall. Little else is said of her except that she gave birth to these beings who loom large in Ragnarok. Surtur is the towering fire giant who stands guard in Muspelheim, his blade shining brighter than the sun. He embodies fiery doom and marks the end of all things. Before Ragnarok, he stays mostly unseen, but his threat always lingers. When the final battle comes, Surtur marches with the giants and burns the world, cutting down anyone in his path. He is the spark that ignites the final blaze, swallowing Asgard and Midgard alike. Ymir is the oldest giant, the first living being born in Ginnungagap, where ice from Niflheim met fire from Muspelheim. From that clash, Ymir emerged, the source of all giants. As he slept, new life came from his body. But Odin and his brothers, Vili and Ve, saw him as a danger and slew him. From his remains they made the world. His blood formed the seas, his flesh the land, his bones the mountains, and his skull the sky. Clouds arose from his brain, and his brows became Midgard, the home of humankind. Vesla is a giantess and mother of Odin, Vili, and Ve. She is one of the few giantesses clearly named in Norse lore, though details about her are scarce. She is the child of Balthorn, another obscure giant. With Bor, she bore the 3 gods who would kill Ymir and create the realms from his body. Hrungnir was a boastful, brawny giant, famed for his strength. He once drank with Odin in Asgard and bragged he could tear down Valhalla, then kidnap Sif and Freya. The gods summoned Thor to stop him. Hrungnir fled home and prepared with a giant stone shield and a whetstone weapon. Thor hurled Mjolnir, shattering the whetstone and crushing Hrungnir's skull. A shard of stone lodged in Thor's head, causing him pain until the sorceress Grodr removed it. Thrymar was a scheming giant who stole Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, and demanded Freya in marriage as ransom. His plan was doomed. Rather than send Freya, Loki proposed Thor disguise himself as the bride. Thrymr welcomed his veiled guest, only to be amazed by the bride's huge appetite. Loki covered for him, saying she was simply eager for the ceremony. When Thrymr brought out Mjolnir as part of the wedding rites, Thor seized it, cast aside his disguise, and slew the giant and his kin, restoring his hammer to the gods. Hyndla is a wise giantess known for her vast knowledge of bloodlines. In the poem Hyndlajot, Freya seeks her out to confirm the ancestry of a follower named Ota. Unlike many giants who use brute force, Hyndla relies on her gift of insight. She knows the heritage of gods, kings, and warriors, proving that strength isn't the only power among the Jotnar. Skrymir, also called Utgarta-Loki, is a cunning giant king who tests Thor with illusions. Unlike most giants who brawl, he challenges the gods through trickery. On their journey, Thor, Loki, and Tjalfi meet Skrymir, who offers to share his huge food bag, but secures it too tightly to open. 3 times, Thor strikes the sleeping giant with his hammer, but Skrymir barely notices. Later in Utgard, Thor faces strange contests, only to learn they were clever deceptions. Skrymir finally reveals his true identity and admits Thor's blows almost broke a mountain. Fearing Thor's power, he sends them away, never to return. Harbardr is a mysterious ferryman in the poem Harbardr-Jotr. Thor finds him at a river and demands a ride, but Harbardr refuses. They trade insults, with Harbardr mocking Thor's feats and praising his own cleverness. Many believe Harbardr is Odin in disguise, testing Thor's patience. Odin often tests others with his wit, while Thor depends on might. Frustrated, Thor must take the long route around, leaving Harbardr behind in triumph. Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, is one of Loki's monstrous offspring. Cast into the sea by Odin, it grew until it circled Midgard, biting its own tail. Thor encounters it more than once, but their final match is set for Ragnarok. Jormungandr will rise from the ocean, spewing venom into the sky. Thor will kill it with Mjolnir, but will only walk 9 steps before succumbing to the deadly poison. This clash is a key moment in the world's end. Fenrir, the great wolf, is fated to kill Odin during Ragnarok. Loki and Angerboda are his parents, and from birth he grew at a terrifying pace, alarming the gods. They raised him in Asgard but knew he would cause their doom. Twice they tried to shackle him, and he broke free each time. Finally, dwarves forged Gleipnir, a ribbon of impossible things: a cat's footsteps, a woman's beard, a mountain's roots, a fish's breath, and a bird's spit. Sensing a trick, Fenrir demanded one god risk a hand in his jaws as a show of trust. Tyr did so, and when Fenrir found himself bound, he bit off Tyr's hand. Chained until Ragnarok, Fenrir will break loose and devour Odin. Then Vidar tears him apart, avenging the Allfather. Hel is queen of the underworld and the daughter of Loki and Angerboda. Odin threw her into the realm of the dead, where she rules over those who die of sickness or old age, not in battle. Her land, also called Hel, is cold and gray, distant from Valhalla's feasting. She is shown with one side alive and the other side dead, reflecting her dominion over the boundary between life and death. Though she stays out of the final fight, her realm will open its gates when the old order falls. Ægir is a giant and a sea god, both feared and honored. Unlike many giants who oppose the gods, Ægir welcomes them in his undersea hall for grand feasts. He brews ale in a huge cauldron Thor provided. Though friendly, he also represents the fierce power of the ocean. Sailors offered him gifts so he would spare them from storms. His wife, Ran, is the darker side of the sea, dragging the drowned to her depths. Dalingr is the dawn god, tied to the morning light that pushes away the night. He is father to Dag, the personification of day, linking him to the cycle of daybreak in Norse belief. His name likely means the Shining One, reflecting how he brings light after the darkness of Not, the night goddess. Though little is told of him, his role marks the renewal that comes each day. Dag, child of Dalingr and Not, is the day god. Formed by the union of light and darkness, he rides across the sky with his bright horse, Skinfaxi, whose glowing mane lights the world. Not is the night goddess, daughter of a giant named Nafi, and mother to Dag. Her chariot is drawn by Hrimfaxi, whose frosty mane sprinkles dew on the earth. As she travels, she brings the veil of night, clearing the way for Dag's daylight to follow. Kvasir is the god of wisdom, born from the spat-upon truce between the Æsir and Vanir. Their collective spit created him, and his knowledge had no equal. Sadly, he was killed by dwarves named Fiala and Gala, who drained his blood and blended it with honey, making the mead of poetry. Anyone who drinks it gains wisdom and the gift of verse. Thus, Kvasir's spirit lives on in the mead, which Odin later claims so that wisdom might not be lost. Bresvelgr is a colossal giant in eagle form, perched at the world's edge. His name means corpse gulper. By beating his mighty wings, he stirs the winds that sweep over Midgard. Though not central in most tales, Bresvelgr shows the raw forces of nature at work, shaping storms and weather. That covers a grand tour of the Norse gods. They fought, roamed, and molded the destiny of all things. From Odin's endless quest for knowledge to Thor's fierce battles and Loki's deadly tricks, their tales are full of triumph and heartbreak, always shadowed by Ragnarok. Yet after the old world burns, a new one will emerge. The stories of these gods live on in poems, stones, and in every retelling, testaments to a pantheon that refuse to fade away. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos.